little secret. When I came on after that first song, I wasn't supposed to be there. I came out prematurely, and I tell you that never happens, but I wanted to be a member of that band. They were absolutely outstanding. We're gonna hear a song from them later. But what a great way to start off this afternoon. What do you think? The governor has a new favorite band. So we're gonna have a fantastic afternoon. And we started off talking about we have the power this morning. This afternoon, we wanna talk about the power of networking, connecting people for a better Earth. And we're gonna have some amazing climate leaders up here. We're gonna share their climate journeys. And then in the afternoon, we're gonna have networking islands set up right out there where you can interact with a lot of the speakers you're gonna see on stage today. You can brainstorm, you can network, you can collaborate to find the solutions of tomorrow. But right now, we wanna show you the latest project of the Schwarzenegger Climate Initiative, because this project is all about solutions and connecting people together.
The Austrian World Summit is one of the biggest environmental conferences in the world. From day one, we wanted to motivate and to inspire as many people and as many business and political leaders as possible to be part of the solution. Because there are already so many solutions on the table, concrete solutions to solve our environmental, to solve our climate-related problems. We are very proud that the Schwarzenegger Climate Initiative now has a new home to work for that on a daily basis, here at the Austrian World Summit Solutions Hub. In this century-old estate, tradition meets modernity. We need both to solve the big questions of the future for our planet. This place is for networking and matchmaking, for sharing knowledge and presenting green technologies for a better environment and a sustainable and open society throughout the year. We have the power to make a difference. Let's do this together.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, everybody. My name is Barbara Meyer, and I will co-host this panel today. And I'm so happy to have so many young people in the audience today. Nice to have you here. And I think my first guest will going to be a super nice surprise for you, but also for the rest of us, because he is very successful in what he's doing. He has 75 million followers on social media. Recently, he was dancing in one of the most popular German dancing shows and wowed the audience with his performance. But today, he is here to support us. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage Younes Sarou.
Ist das Mikrofon an? Also,
Is the mic on?
Wenn du möchtest, können wir gerne auf Deutsch sprechen.
Ich glaube eher, die meisten wollen wahrscheinlich Deutsch.
We can speak German, so I prefer to speak in German. I'm happy that you are here. It's a great honor for me to be part of this, a great honor to stand beside you, Barbara, to speak in front of Arnold and all the other guests. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Wir freuen uns total, dass du
We're very happy to have you here, not only because you have many followers, which means you're very successful, but because you want to reach out for many young people with your message. How can we reach out to young people? How can we raise their enthusiasm for climate protection and the environment? On social media, well, people are attentive only for short periods of time. Vertical videos have increased, short videos on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Short, and well, young people cannot be attentive for long periods. And here it's important to reach out to them, to have very catchy slogans in the videos so that they can remain attentive. Climate is a very important topic for all of us, and we should will provide for the right range. We need to reach out. I said that back then in 2020 when we could win some more followers, and I think influencers should use their scope of influence to foster this. Thank you very much for being here and for using your influence and your outreach. Well, we want to raise young people's enthusiasm for the future. In Kitzbühel and here you have cooperated with the Schwarzenegger Climate Initiative. Could you do more in the future? Is this a possibility for you? Well, yes, this is the goal in Kitzbühel. This was a first meeting. We've been invited here to the summit, so let's see what the future holds in store. I've already been engaging in the field of climate change, and I'm open to further partnership. Well, we'll take you up on that.
Sag mal, mir fällt auf, dass du immer sagst, wir.
You always say we. Now you're standing here alone. Do you mean yourself by saying we? Well, when I say we shouldn't forget where we come from. I wouldn't be Yunus Saro without my followers, without the community. So a big thanks goes to my followers, to my community. I always refer to we. Whenever I win an award, I say we as a community have achieved this because I owe it to the people. That's great, and this is something we want to achieve today at this climate summit. We want to join forces, work together, and it's good that you're so inclusive. Is there a message you'd like to convey to the audience and all those who are watching us? Well, I think it's some smaller things. When I take a shower, I take cold showers. I hardly ever take a warm shower in the winter. I think I only put on the heating 5 times. These are minor things we can do. This is what you can give back, and this is where you can start, and then you can achieve progress step by step, reduce your consumption, etc., etc. We are very happy that you're reaching your influence to convey this message, and we'll be happy to welcome you next year. Thank you very much.
So, Yunus is not our only guest today. I think Matt has some amazing other stories to tell, right?
I do, Barbara, and thank you so much. Yunus, great to see you again. So right now, I want to bring up 3 incredibly energetic individuals who've come up with some awesome energy solutions. So please welcome Ina Braverman, Olabanyu Olabanga, and Tommy Aranen. Here they are. So we had a little chance to speak last night, and these are 3 amazing individuals. So Olu, I want to start with you. You're from Nigeria. You founded a company called Ready. So can you explain what Ready is and what products are you making?
Okay, thank you so much, Matt. My name is Olu, and I founded a company called Ready. What we do at Ready is we provide clean, reliable, and affordable electricity to households and businesses operating in energy-poor regions of the world, specifically Nigeria. As you guys will know, there's over 600 million Africans who live without access to power. In Nigeria, which is the country I come from, half of the population, which is 100 million people, struggle with lack of access to electricity. So what we do at Ready is we build those energy parks that people leverage to, they rent it to access electricity on the go, and we serve over 2,000 households and businesses daily as we speak.
Just amazing. Ina Braverman, deserved applause. I feel so lazy and unaccomplished around these 3. Ina Braverman, you're the founder and CEO of EcoWave Power, which is working to solve a problem that has stumped scientists for decades, and that's how to harness the power of ocean waves. And Ina, you've come up with a solution, but I love it. You didn't have a traditional path there. So tell us about your journey in EcoWave Power.
So our company developed a unique, innovative technology for generating clean electricity from ocean and sea waves. We connect to existing man-made structures such as breakwaters, piers, jetties to harness the energy. And the reason behind EcoWave Power is quite personal. I live in Israel, but I was born in Ukraine. And I was born in 1986. 2 weeks after I was born, the Chernobyl nuclear reactor exploded, which was the largest in history nuclear disaster. I was one of the babies that got hurt from the negative effects of the explosion. I actually had a respiratory arrest and a clinical death. And luckily, my mother, who's a nurse, came to the crib on time and gave me mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, which saved my life. So I got a second chance in life, and I really, really wanted to do something good with it. And I really believe that wave energy, which according to the World Energy Council can provide twice the amount of electricity that the world produces now, is a great cause for my second chance in life.
Amazing. And now, Tommy Aronen from Finland, you've come up with a different approach than using water. So Polar Night Energy, tell us how you're working to solve the energy crisis.
Yeah, so thanks a lot for having me here. And yeah, we came with the idea to heat sand with electricity. Sounds dumb, right? But when we have excess electricity from wind turbines or solar power, it actually is a good idea to store that energy as a heat in sand. And like a little bit controversial to what all of us has been taught previously, that we should save electricity, but actually we are consuming a lot of electricity when we are heating up the storages.
Well, it feels like between the ocean and the beach, then you guys are coming up with two great solutions. So, Tommy, what are next steps for you and Polar Night Energy?
Yeah, so we will be now fundraising for R&D project to also produce electricity out from the storage. So now we are producing heat-only systems, but of course heating is super important thing also. But in the future also electricity out from the storages.
And how old are you?
I'm 33.
You guys are going to have to match. You guys realize that. And Ian Braverman, you just had a big success. You installed some EcoWave Power floaters in Los Angeles, so congratulations. But what then will be the next steps for you and your company?
So the next steps is actually in July, we're opening our first grid-connected power station in Israel. That's the first time in Israel history that wave energy will actually go to people's houses, so they can operate their washing machines and their TVs from the power of the waves, which is super cool. After that, we have a project plan in New Jersey and in Porto in Portugal. And basically, you know, we want to kind of positively take over the world one wave at a time.
With positive energy. I love that. And Olu, yep, go ahead. You can clap. That's right. I don't know what the rest of the room was doing. I'm listening to you guys. So Olu, what about for you with Ready? What's the mission? What are the next steps for you?
Yeah, our mission is to bridge the gap of energy accessibility, and we are doing that. We're starting with the Ready capsule. Right now, we are scaling to other bigger systems. So we have systems that are 2x of this size when it comes to energy capacity, and even 10x of that size when it comes to energy capacity. And beyond that, we're also scaling to more energy pure communities in Nigeria itself, and we're also scaling outside of Nigeria. We're having conversations with people in South Africa, even in North America as well, where some communities where energy is still a challenge. We're exploring that right now. So the goal is just to continue to scale what we do and scale it to more communities and regions.
Just amazing. I feel like I'm up here with 3 young Elon Musks. This is remarkable. Now, we obviously have a lot of young people here who are very interested in the climate. So I want to ask each of you, what would be the one piece of advice you'd give to these aspirational future climate leaders? And Ian, I'll start with you.
So first of all, I see there's a lot of kids here, and it's really, really nice to see that the new and younger generation really cares about the environment, and I think we can see it every day, and that's what makes politicians and governments put it high on the agenda, so good for you. And as to an advice, I think that, you know, what helped me throughout the way, and I opened the company when I was 24 years old, which is not very easy, is really being very, very passionate. And if something is your true passion, never give up. And I always say that passion is the greatest renewable energy source, even stronger than the power of the waves. So if something is your true passion, never give up.
I know that's something Governor Schwarzenegger embodies this never giving up. Olu, what about you? What advice would you share?
Yeah, I mean, just similar to, I think there's a lot of problem out there, and more importantly, I think your personal story defines you. Like for me, I struggled with electricity for the first and 4 years of my life, and that became something I was very passionate about solving. And I probably, when I left University of Toronto, when I did my master's degree, I just pushed myself into it, and I've been on it for the past 3-4 years. So the goal is just you probably understand those problems that you face daily or what you see around you, just put yourself into it and just do it. Starting is always very challenging, but you'll be surprised. If you don't start, you won't even win the game. So you want to win the game, you have to play the game, so just start.
And Tommy, your advice.
Okay, let's put it this way. Think about, I watched Arnold's great speech, I think, from this event, and I was super inspired about that. And I was just young people as you are now, but think about now I'm at his event giving a speech, so you can basically do the same. Just if you have a goal where you have to have a vision where you are going, and then you can work consistently towards that goal and put all the work that it needs. Like in our company, we had the vision of doing this 11 years ago. And yeah, we just do it. And 5 years ago, we founded the company, and now we are here.
So passion, get in the game, and have a vision. Governor Schwarzenegger's nodding his head. He believes in all of that. So one last chance. We just want to let these people know on social media, how can they follow you? Tommy, I'll start with you.
Yeah, you can follow us in LinkedIn or Twitter.
Polar Night Energy.
Yeah, Polar
okay.
Night Energy.
Olu, what about for you?
I mean, just my name or the company already. You can either any of the social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, basically everything.
Ina?
EcoWave Power.
EcoWave Power, that's good. Now, if you don't have to wait for social media, because all three of you are going to be a part of the networking island, so this afternoon, you'll all have a chance to pick the brains of these three young geniuses. So we appreciate you all being here and sharing with us your energetic inspirations. And Barbara, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Matt. Now we want to talk about food, because every one of us really likes food and good food, but the way we produce food and consume food is often very harmful for our environment. By the way, did you know that 8% of the global greenhouse gas emissions is because of food waste? Not because of food, but the food that is wasted. So we're facing a huge problem here, and I invited 3 wonderful guests now, and I want to speak with them how we can reduce food waste, and with that, how we can reduce the CO2 emissions. Please welcome on stage Douglas McMaster, Maria, and Johannes Hauser. So, Douglas, we start with you. You are the owner and the founder of Silo. It is a zero-waste restaurant, the only one in the world, I learned yesterday. And I saw a documentary about your project, and it really is absolutely inspiring. And it really made me think about my own food consumption and the waste I produce. For anyone who hasn't heard about you in the media yet, can you tell us what exactly is a fully zero-waste restaurant?
So the way I like to say it is that we don't have a bin. It's a binless restaurant, and there's 2 parts. There's a how, and more importantly, there's a why. How is easily described as a pre-industrial food system. What that means is we've gone back to a food system of 200 years ago, before industrialization took a hold of our supply chain. Now, if you're familiar with the term Luddite, I'm not a Luddite. A Luddite is a person that opposes industrial progress. That's not the case. It just means that in the circumstances of our food system, to not have a bin, we need to go backwards, to go forwards. Now, we get everything we need from nature. Everything comes from nature. And that leads into the why. Why we don't have a bin came with the revelation that humans are the reason waste exists. Waste is a symptom of a badly designed system. So I see it personally as my responsibility as a human, as a part of the species that designed waste into this world, as it's my responsibility to design it out of the world. So that's why I try to not have a bin. And why is waste relevant to sustainability? Well, you made a very good point just now. Its impact on the climate change. But largely, the way I like to see it, and this is the last thing I'll say, is that waste exists when a system is out of balance. And sustainability is simply a balanced system.
Super inspiring to listen to you. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, like your journey and how you established Silo?
Okay. So I'm from the north of England. I am not very academic. I dropped out of school. I have dyslexia, dyscalculia, dyspraxia, and I have ADHD. I was made to feel like a failure. I still do, because of a childhood and an educational system that didn't see any potential in me because I wasn't academic. Now, I felt like a failure, and sometimes when you feel like that inside, it motivates you. It motivates you to find something that makes you feel like you're not a failure. And I became a chef because you don't need any qualifications to be a chef. It was purely by chance I became a chef. And so I saw that the industry was not great. There was bullying, there was violence, and there was a lot of waste. And so, somewhere in my subconscious mind, I wanted to prove that I could do better. This wasn't in the front of my mind. I just sent my CV to all the best restaurants in the world. I went to the best restaurants in the world. I got good at cooking, and I then got lucky and found a little bit of inspiration in an artist who said to me, "Could you not have a bin?" And he had a building in Australia that was made from waste materials, designed to not generate any waste. But he was struggling as he wasn't a chef, and that's how I serendipitously arrived at this path. And then I've spent the last 10 years trying to not have a bin.
That is amazing. And it's a big inspiration, isn't it? Maria, Johannes, you are, or your family is the owner of the Stangelwirt, a very famous 5-star hotel in Tyrol in Austria. And you know I'm one of your biggest fans. I always enjoy staying with you because you're not just creating a great atmosphere and you're allowing your guests to have a connection to the nature, but you also want to do your share in climate action. So can you tell us what exactly were the most important actions that you have taken so far?
Thank you, Barbara, for this kind introduction, and thank you, Arnold. Thank you, Monica, for the invitation. It's a big honor that we are here on stage and to be able to talk a bit about our family business, the Stangelwirt. And Douglas, congratulations! I admire people who follow their heart. Big hand to Douglas. Yeah, the Stangelwirt, our families, I always say, it's only organic farm with an integrated luxury hotel and not the other way around. So our family's farm dates back to 1609 and has been owned by our family for more than 10 generations. And ever since we think back of the stories that are told to us from our ancestors, and especially from my father, have been following organic principles. And my father, when he took over almost 60 years ago, he was only 17. For him, the most important thing was always that every single step that he took was in honor to our organic farm. So for him, it was a logical evolution to build the hotel based on our organic principles and to always take what's there. Douglas has said nature has everything that we need. So we always took the materials from our surrounding. The whole resort has been built with local materials, solid wood, stones, rocks from our mountains, hand collected from our rivers and from our mountains. And yeah, so ever since we can think back, it has been like that, and our big mission is to continue on this tradition and history.
Yeah, that's amazing, and I think we really can feel that at der Stangelwirt.
And speaking of using waste products, one special thing to the Stangelwirt history is that we have actually installed the first biomass heating plant in a hotel in Europe. So we were the first hotel to do that already in the 80s, where nobody was talking about sustainability or biological principles. Actually, people called my father a little bit crazy, but he believed in what he was doing, and for him it was only logical because we have a sawmill next to us, or we had a sawmill, and the tree barks were the waste products of this sawmill. So he said, why don't we use these tree barks and make chipped wood out of it and use it to heat our whole resort, which is now 12 hectares of space. And so nobody could do this for him, so he was looking for an inventor, and he found a guy who built this biomass plant for him. And when they first switched it on, the whole village of Going was covered in a black cloud of smoke. They didn't think it through because the tree barks were still too wet and too big. And already back then we had horse riding arena because we have a private Lipizzaner stud farm. So the next logical step was to put the tree barks in our riding arena so the hooves of the horses would make them smaller and drier. And then it worked in the next step. And when our friend Arnold today said, never let me get this right, be a perfection the enemy of progress, I was thinking of this story of my dad, because first, it didn't work, but he said, okay, let's think of the next step. And I always think that we want perfection in the first step, but it's not possible. It's all a progress. It's all a journey, like life is a journey. You always learn by making one step after the other.
Yeah, totally right. And as you speak about steps and a journey, you already established a food waste management a few years ago at Stangelwirt, and now you want to bring it some steps further. Can you tell us a little bit more about that journey?
Yes, thank you. So what we do at the Stangelwirt is we try to, like what a lot of hotels and thankfully in the world, a lot of people try to buy regional products. We do that the same. Sometimes you can't do it because pepper is not growing in Tyrol. And so we need some things from abroad, but we try to keep the chain very, very short. And we have actually contracts with our partners that we get everything in a sustainable materials. So we try to not have too much, we have a bin, sadly, still, but I will talk some more with you, Douglas, to try to get better there. But yeah, to be very sustainable there. And what we just implemented a few years ago is that we have a food processor. So because we are a hotel and we are very known for a breakfast buffet, so that should be also you know, there should be a lot of products what we actually produce ourselves, a lot of them. But still, if you have a buffet, some food rests are there. And we try to keep them very low, but so whatever stays like on the buffet, we had to find a way what to do with it. And then so we have a processor. It's like it cuts it very small, and then we can put it in a tank with like a vacuum cleaner. And so this tank we then can bring to a biogas fabric, so they can make gas out of it. And after that, we can use it as a fertilizer on the fields. So we're lucky that we can do that. And also energy-wise, so the heating we just said now, but also we are very lucky that we have enough water in Tyrol. So therefore, to get the energy is super good for us that we have the water, and also cold water. So we talk a lot about heating, but not about cooling. So it's also sustainable to cool things that it holds longer. And we can use our water to cool all our cool houses. So, and then the water gets warm again. And with the warm water, we heat again the pools. Then it gets cold again, so we send it back and forth, back and forth. So that's very good.
That's amazing. So Douglas, do you maybe have any tips for them if they want to bring it all even more steps further? I guess you have learned a lot during your journey to establish the zero waste restaurant.
Yes, so tips. I think one of the most powerful things that we can all do is be aware of our actions. Everything we buy is a contribution to the future that we want to see. I'm paraphrasing Gandhi. But every purchase, every decision to eat a meal, you go into a fast food restaurant versus a zero waste restaurant, that's the future that you're voting to eat. And to understand and to be mindful of the implications of our actions. As a species, we have a short-term view of the future, and there's a lot of reasons in history that suggest that makes sense, not knowing where we'll be in 50 to 100 to 1,000 years. But we need to now look far more into the future, because the implications of our actions today shouldn't be designed in the next 50 years, but the next 500 years. And we definitely have the power to do that.
Thank you. As we are talking about connecting now, maybe the three of you can stay in touch and exchange ideas, or maybe you can start a project together. We would be very happy if you would come back next year to tell us a little bit more about this matchmaking. That would be amazing. So thank you, Maria, thank you, Johannes and Douglas, for that great inspiration, and hopefully we all think about our food waste now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So, by the way, did you all check out your Climate Action magazine? Because you're going to find some more interesting stories of these three amazing people, and of course, even more stories to find there. So please make sure to check it out. And Matt, who are your guests now?
Well, we've got some guests to talk about the circular economy, but first I want to just commend those speakers. Douglas, I can't wait to eat at Silo. And for the Hauser family, I've been to the Stangelwort, and it's as close to heaven as you're going to get on this planet with better hospitality. But right now, we want to bring up some people. We've been talking about this idea of the circular economy, so we have some great guests to come, so I'll ask them to join me on stage. Luca Fichtinger, Siddharth Hundi, and joining us via video, we're going to have Gary Cooper in Chicago. Oh, you brought a prop here, Luca. I like this. So we've just been talking about food waste, and Luca, you're here in Austria, and I understand you've created a company to help deal with that called KernTech. So explain what your approach is.
Yes, so I'm one of the founders of KernTech. We are a food tech startup based in Austria, so a local one. And what we have done is we have created a couple of technologies to turn raw materials that have not previously been recognized in the food industry and turn them into food ingredients for the very first time. And what we have done is we have focused on one raw material, which are fruit seeds, fruit pits from apricots, cherries, and plums. And with our technology, we can use these raw materials that used to be a side stream in the fruit processing industry while producing jams, juice, and so on, and extract the seed in the inside, which is basically a new kind of nut because they contain a lot of healthy fats, proteins, minerals, vitamins, and have never been used before. So these technologies we have now commercialized. We have a production plant in Low Austria, in Herzogenburg, next to Wachau, and have been processing over 2,000 tons already of these raw materials. And as we are upcycling them, of course, these raw materials have a fraction of a footprint when compared to other nuts regarding water use, land use, and of course, CO2 emissions.
Well, you had me with healthy fats. I'm in on that. But explain some of the products that KernTech has been generating. And I think you brought something here.
This is one of the products, you're right. So we started off with oils for the Michelin star chefs. Douglas, we need to talk later. And then we stepped over to products that everyone really loves, and started off with some sort of Nutella, but replacing the nuts with our seeds. And just now we launched the world's first dairy alternative made from apricot seeds, which is now on the market.
Can we open this one here?
Hell yeah.
Can I take a drink?
Yeah.
All right, you guys, I'm a little thirsty here. This is a real test. I'm keeping this right here. Look at that, is spectacular. Now, I want to turn to you, Sid. So you're here from India, which has a growing population, a growing economy, and obviously some growing opportunities for sustainability. So you've created Kabadiwala Connect. So explain how you're tackling the problems of sustainability.
Sure, thanks. It's an absolute honor to be here. So waste management is a huge problem in the global south. In India, for example, our cities generate something like 70 million tons of waste every year. And currently, most of that actually just winds up in poorly managed landfills. So this is really the case, not just in India, but really in all countries in the global south. And because of all of this mismanaged waste, you have a lot of plastic entering rivers and ultimately going to the ocean. So there's an Ellen MacArthur Foundation study that says that about 8 million tons of plastic enters the ocean every year, most of that from Asia and Africa. So in these same places, there exist these incredible local networks of waste collectors and small scrap shops, very active in collecting plastic, but also other kinds of recyclable waste. We did a lot of mapping of these supply chains and found that in cities, they can collect as much as 30% of the recyclable waste. Wow. This is in contrast to municipalities actually just prioritizing landfills. So at Kabadiwala Connect, we really believe in the power of these invisible recyclers. And we really work towards integrating these local networks of waste pickers and scrap shops into the formal recycling supply chain.
And I'm sorry, I said it right. Kabadiwala.
So Kabadi basically means waste, and a wala is somebody who works in waste. And so that's the local name in India, but then they have local names in a lot of different countries. Like they're called catadores in Mexico, they're called lapaks in Indonesia. It's really something.
Well, this sounds like something that a lot of cities would be interested. So as for you, for your next steps, is cities or companies that might want to collaborate with you, how can they assist you and how can they take what you're creating?
Yeah, I think our greatest commercial value lies in working with recyclers who have like an innovative technology but they don't know how to secure feedstock in the global south. So they really don't know how to invest in setting up these plants because they don't know where they're going to get the material from. So we are actively working with companies to actually do a lot of procurement tests with these local networks and see if we can get the quality right, the volumes right. And in long term, we hope that that converts to long-term contracts, which would then allow us to actually invest in this supply chain so that they don't have to choose between their health and livelihood as they do currently.
Fantastic. And right now we want to turn, yes, right? It keeps getting better. And we want to greet our friend who's coming from Chicago, Gary Cooper. And you've made your company all about this idea of circularity. So explain to me, what is Reaply? What are you doing?
Yeah, so Reaply is a Chicago-based climate tech startup. And what we do is we help large organizations or cities with reuse. So if you think about reduce, reuse, recycle, we really build technology to help large organizations reuse the stuff they buy. And it turns out that a lot of the things that we buy, both in the commercial sector and at home, go to landfill. We've heard several presenters already talk about that. So our question is, before it's recycled, can we reuse it? Can we reuse it in our large organization or in our cities? Can our neighbors reuse it? Can we do that before thinking about a recycling funnel? And so what we try to do at Reaply is to make that super, super straightforward. And it's so critical to do as a part of the global circular economy movement. In fact, reuse is the cornerstone of a circular economy. And so we're trying to build the technology at Reaply to help large organizations reuse the stuff they buy.
That sounds amazing. So I understand you're in the building phase. So I can imagine cities and companies would absolutely love this because you're helping save them money. So what are the next steps for you, Gary?
So every city probably has a part of their climate action plan, some type of citywide waste reduction or recycling infrastructure improvement. And that always has to include citywide reuse. So what we're trying to do at Reaply is provide a platform that any city, anywhere in the world, any company, anywhere in the world can download and start driving reuse within their organization and then, or their city. And then when those items are no longer needed, they can't be reused. We then provide a whole recycling network where those items can flow. So what we imagine is Google mapping the working world. We need to know where every single thing, every chair you're sitting on right now costs about 245 pounds of carbon to make. We can't continue to make net new chairs. We can't continue to make net new desks. We have to know where every single thing is on one platform so that when people no longer need it, people who can actually use it can then take it. And if no one can take it, we can plan nicely for its end of life. So Reaply, just follow us at reaply.com. We would love to work with you. And we're coming out actually with a free version of Reaply. So any organization in any city can be a part of the movement that we're building. In fact, our vision is circularity for every business.
That's spectacular. Gary, honestly, it sounds like there could be a lot of collaboration between you and Sid here. I love this opportunity. Now, we're all talking about the power of networking. I'm sorry you're not here in person, but once again, let people know how they can reach you.
Yes, just go to RHEAPLY.com or Reaply.com or find me on LinkedIn. I'm a big LinkedIn or Twitter. We would love to hear your stories. We would love to elevate your voices, and we would love to show you what we're building and see how we can be helpful.
Gary, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. I know it's early there in Chicago. And Sid and Luca, thank you guys for being here. And I know you're going to be outside at the networking island. So if any of you young climate aspiring leaders want to collaborate, these two have a lot of great ideas. So gentlemen, thank you for joining us on stage. Great job. Oh wait, that's my milk. She's not stealing that. Well, right now I want to ask Barbara, where are you? Barbara, come on out here and join me once again. We're going to bring up another person to the stage, and I had a chance to meet him last night, and this guy is an absolute stud. I think you're going to love hearing from him. So let's welcome Taj Ahmad Eldridge.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
Tash is a highly experienced investment professional, but now he works as the managing director of climate innovations at Jobs for the Futures. You want to tell us what Jobs for the Future exactly is?
Absolutely. It's exactly that. It's a nonprofit organization that I call a think tank that creates action. The whole idea is that as we have an educational system in the US, the educational system feeds into our workforce. And what Jobs for the Future does is prepare the community for the workforce. If you can imagine, for the young folks, 95, who here remembers 1995? The reason that was important is that was the pre-dawn of the internet. Before that, those of us who are a little bit seasoned, we didn't know about that. But the internet changed the way we worked and how we lived in that space. And Jobs for the Future was there to focus on that. We have another transition that's happening now, climate. Climate is impacting the way that we work, the way that we live, and the way that we learn. And as Managing Director of Climate Innovations, my job is to prepare both students and workers for the jobs of the future around climate.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So I do just want to say, and Tom, you'll back me on this, I was feeling pretty sharp when I got up here in my suit until I saw your outfit, Taj. I love this.
It's code red for climate.
Red for climate. I like that. Absolutely. Well, we've heard from a lot of young entrepreneurs, but you're incredibly successful, well-established. So as you look at some of these young people who want to get where you are, I would love if you could share some advice with them, Taj.
Awesome. Well, as they've mentioned, I'm a venture capitalist by trade, and I work as a manager director. And my graduate degrees are in economics and geopolitical economics. But you want to know what my undergraduate degree was in? Poetry. Here's why. Venture capital is about storytelling. It is about telling a story that impacts the customer, telling a story that impacts the investor, telling a story that impacts the world. So when you understand storytelling, that's the first part of being a really successful investor. The second piece to your question about what got me into climate is fashion. Now, it may be obvious, but I want to give you this quote or this piece of fact. Do you know that the fashion industry is responsible for 10% of the global greenhouse emissions in this world? That's more than shipping and more than aviation combined. So, Mr. Governor, the next time somebody tweets you and say about you flying commercial or private, just ask them what type of clothes they're wearing, because that makes more of the impact on global greenhouse emissions than more than anything. So as I was in fashion, what I started seeing was a lot of the waste that was coming into fashion as well. And that's what really got me into climate and sustainability. And what I loved about the previous speakers that you mentioned is that climate is more than just about grid management. It is more about electric vehicles. It is more than just about solar. It is what we put in our bodies, from what we heard from the last speakers, but it's about what we put on our bodies. These shoes are made out of plastic bottles. This hat is circular economy, made out of waste. These diamonds on my neck are from carbon captured into the air to make diamonds. So the whole idea is that you have to be a walking billboard for climate for young folks.
Super inspiring.
It's good to fight for climate, and it's better to look good while you're doing
Absolutely.
it.
That's what I was about to say, yeah.
GQ needs to have a climate warrior edition. Where's GQ at? Thank you.
You always had a focus on increasing the number of underrepresented voices in the clean tech industry. Why is that important to you?
It's important because of a few reasons. Number one, when we talk about the impact of climate, it impacts those underrepresented and underserved communities far greater, not just in the US, but in the world globally. Not only because of that, a lot of these communities already have the solutions that we're looking for around sustainability. Let's look at the United States, the Native American indigenous community in our country. A lot of sustainability practices they've already used in agriculture there that we just need to take a listen. But the creation of that is that having those voices in the room to provide the solutions instead of just providing solutions for those communities. Secondly, the reason why I really support a lot of underrepresented people in the community, and it's personal to me, because climate is more than just about the world warming. It's more than just about the IPCC report. It's about a story of individuals. There are people who live in these communities that are dying, literally, because of climate change and environmentalism, whether it's people who have asthma, people who are dying from heat stroke, or people like me who just had a kidney transplant this past January. The reason I mention that is the disease I have is called FSGS, and I got it from tainted water in the city that I lived in. So you can imagine my amazement when I came to Austria, to Vienna, and the first thing they said is, drink the tap water. And so when we talk about this impact of communities, underrepresented communities, underserved communities, it's about really three things. It's about a social justice issue, it's about a public health issue, and it's about an economic issue, because we want to build green wealth in those communities for these jobs of the future.
That's amazing.
Taj, thank you so much for joining us on stage. I loved hearing how personal this really is for you, and I know you're going to be out there with the Networking Islands, and you're also going to join us tomorrow for the launch of the Austrian World Summit Solutions Hub. Is that right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, Taj, we look forward to it. You guys can get a chance to talk to Taj later. Taj, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.